In today's video, we dive into the significant changes taking place in the energy sector as former President Donald Trump dismantles key environmental protections, paving the way for oil executives to flourish. From rolling back regulations on federal lands to reviving controversial pipeline projects like Keystone XL, the implications of these moves are vast. We'll explore how these transformations at the EPA and the loosening of methane emission standards create a landscape more favorable to fossil fuel interests, while simultaneously straining global climate commitments. Join us as we unpack the motivations behind these actions and what they mean for the environment and energy future. 1. Trump's environmental rollback bonanza. It's no secret that during his tenure, Donald Trump rolled back over 100 environmental regulations. This sweeping deregulation was a dream come true for oil executives. Imagine a world where every red tape, every hurdle that stands in the way of exploiting resources is suddenly removed. That's exactly what happened. These rollbacks made it easier for oil companies to drill, extract, and yes, even pollute. The oil industry, often criticized for its environmental impact, found itself unfettered and free to operate with fewer restrictions. The once stringent rules that protected air, water, and land were now loosened, opening the floodgates for increased industrial activity. 2. Federal lands open for business. One of the most significant changes was the opening of federal lands, including national parks and wildlife refuges, for oil and gas leasing. Picture this. The serene landscapes of national parks, once protected as national treasures, now available for drilling. This was akin to opening a candy store to a child with no supervision. Oil companies jumped at the opportunity to explore and extract resources from these previously off-limits areas. The impact on the environment and wildlife was a secondary concern, overshadowed by the promise of profit and energy production. 3. The EPA's transformation. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, once a formidable force in regulating pollution and protecting the environment, found itself weakened. Funding cuts and leadership filled with fossil fuel industry allies altered its course. The agency, intended as a guardian of the environment, saw its mission diluted. With allies from the oil industry at the helm, the focus shifted from protection to promotion. The EPA's ability to enforce regulations was diminished, leaving the environment more vulnerable to industrial exploitation. 4. Loosening methane emission regulations. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, became less of a concern under Trump's administration. Regulations controlling methane emissions were loosened, allowing companies to release more of this harmful gas into the atmosphere. This deregulation was a boon for oil companies, reducing the cost and effort required to control emissions. The environmental consequences, however, were significant. Methane's impact on climate change is well documented, and the relaxed regulations only served to exacerbate the problem. 5. Repealing offshore drilling restrictions. Offshore drilling, a controversial topic due to the risk of oil spills, saw a resurgence. Trump repealed restrictions, opening up the U.S. coastlines to increased drilling activity. This move was celebrated by oil companies eager to tap into offshore reserves. The potential for oil spills, however, loomed large, threatening marine ecosystems and coastal communities. The balance between energy production and environmental protection tipped heavily in favor of the former, with the latter left to bear the consequences. 6. Bypassing environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessments, crucial for understanding the potential effects of drilling projects, were bypassed. This fast-tracked the approval process for new oil and gas developments. For the oil industry, this was a green light to proceed without the usual checks and balances. The result? Rapid expansion of drilling projects with minimal oversight. The environmental costs, both immediate and long-term, were pushed aside in the rush to exploit resources. 7. Reviving the Keystone XL and Dakota Access Pipelines. The Keystone XL and Dakota Access Pipelines, previously halted due to environmental concerns, were revived. These projects, symbolic of the clash between energy needs and environmental preservation, were given new life under Trump's administration. The pipeline's revival was a clear indication of the administration's priorities, favoring fossil fuel expansion over environmental protection. The controversies surrounding these projects, including indigenous rights and potential oil spills, were sidelined in the pursuit of energy dominance. 8. Lobbyists at the helm. Lobbyists from the fossil fuel industry found themselves with unprecedented access to policymaking. This direct line to decision-makers ensured that corporate interests were prioritized. The close relationship between the industry and government blurred the lines between public service and private gain. The influence of lobbyists was evident in the policies that emerged, reflecting the desires of the oil industry over environmental concerns. 9. Defunding clean energy initiatives. While the oil and gas industry flourished, clean energy initiatives faced significant setbacks. Funding for renewable energy projects was slashed, while subsidies and incentives for oil and gas companies increased. This shift in priorities highlighted the administration's commitment to fossil fuels over sustainable energy solutions. The potential for innovation and progress in clean energy was stifled, leaving the U.S. lagging in the global race for sustainable development. 10. Distancing from global climate commitments. The U.S. took a step back from global climate commitments, favoring fossil fuel expansion over sustainability. This distancing signaled a departure from collaborative efforts to address climate change. The focus on fossil fuels over renewable energy sources was a clear indication of the administration's stance on environmental issues. The consequences of this shift were felt both domestically and internationally, as the U.S. moved away from its role as a leader in climate action.